Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps.
When I say that Britt emptied out the clip, Kelly may have started it, but Britt won the war. That's it. That's all. Like, that is it. That is all. Like, the fight was, yeah, just in the words of Phaedra, it was better than the Wimbledon championship. It was hilarious. It was shady, it was witty. I really, really enjoyed it. Now hit that like button as you guys come in. Thank you so much for joining. Hit that like button as you guys come in. So today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. As usual, I always talk about when I watch an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, I usually talk about the key things that caught my attention. So it may not be a play-by-play recap of the show, but I will talk about the most important bits that I picked out and the most interesting bits, okay? So the first thing I really want to talk about is Britt deciding not to call Kelly about Kelly's divorce. So everyone, all the girlies knew that Kelly was going through a divorce, and she had a court hearing, and it turns out that Britt did not reach out to Kelly at all. I'll be completely honest. I feel like I don't think that's right, but then that's just how I would handle things. I know people are different. Some people are like, yo, I don't care if anything is happening to you. If you ignore me or you treat me terribly, I'm not going to show up for you in any way. So I just feel like that's not the way I would handle things, but then I also understand people that choose to handle things in that way. Personally, it could have just been even a text message on the group chat. I hope everything went well with your divorce hearing today. Simple. That is just me. But I do understand that everyone isn't there. I do think there is a level of pettiness, though, in terms of Brit just being like, yeah, I'm not getting involved. I'm not sending you nothing. I'm not wishing you good luck. I'm not checking in on you. It's your divorce. Deal with it. So I do think there's an element there where I feel like, okay, Brit could have possibly handled things differently. I think, especially because, think about it, when everyone was upset at Brit, not really showing up for Brit, really hating on Brit, the one person that actually had her back at the time was Kelly. Now, that is not to say that Kelly is not a flip flopper. I feel like we have seen that Kelly is flip flopping. Kelly loves her some Shamia, and for some reason, she doesn't feel like there's enough space for her to be friends with Britt and Shamia. This is just my opinion. So I get that Kelly is a flip flopper. However, despite that, me as a person, as the kind of person that I am, would still at least a text message, a phone call, a voice message, thinking about you today. I hope things go well with your divorce hearing or whatever. I just would have done that. So I personally think that Brit should have done that. Only especially because, like, let's think about it. Kelly has her shortcomings. Yes, she has not really she hasn't really fully shown up for Brit recently. However, at the start of the season, she did show up for Brit with the whole Kenya situation. So the least Brit could have done is at least reciprocate that. That's just my personal opinion on that. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the chat. And also, for those who just came in, welcome. Please hit that like button. Thank you so much. We're talking about Real Housewives of Atlanta, the latest episode. So yeah, please hit that like button. All right, so let's move on to Britt inviting the girlies over to the house. Now, the first thing I thought is like, okay, Britt, I understand that they are doing renovations, but the least you could do is hide certain things away. Like, you could literally see, looks like almost like a rag on the other side of the room, and then you could see like piles of items. Production were a bit shady by even showing it, but at the same time, I'm just like, I appreciate renovations are going on, but these people, the least you could have done is at least at the entrance, clear everything up and then make sure from the entrance into wherever the ladies are going to be, everything is all cleared up. That's just personally what I think. That's what I think she should have done. And I think part of it also is she's probably not really used to Housewives, um, how they record and stuff. So she's probably thinking maybe they wouldn't show that. They would just show where I am recording with the girlies. But yeah, they are not playing. Of course, they're gonna show that. That's just the reality. So I was just like, yeah, Brit, rookie mistake. But that's just a side point. Now, let's talk about those text messages. Britt alleges that Shamia showed her text messages that they had. That is so brutally specific. And that is what is worrisome to me. Now, Shamia has a history of showing people, okay, let me rephrase that. Shamia has a history of talking to people who don't like her friend and talking about her friend, her so called bestie, right? To everybody who cares to listen, to Kenya, to Angela, to Drew. So, would I say that I am surprised that she's talking about Portia allegedly to Britt? No, I wouldn't say that I'm surprised that she would do that. She's done it before. What is to say that she is not doing it this time around? Right? It's like someone has a history of doing something. They've done it more than once, they've done it more than twice. What's to say that all of a sudden this time around is not true? Right? So, of course, I would believe Britt over Shamia in this instance because Shamia has shown herself to not be trustworthy when it comes to talking about her friend to other people. She has shown that this is what she does. Because why else would you have a sit down with Drew and freaking Angela about Portia? So why else would you have a talk about Portia with Kenya? Everyone knows Kenya is freaking Portia's nemesis and has been for a long time. Now they're cool or whatever, but for a long time they have been at odds. So why would someone like Shamia feel comfortable having that conversation? And let's not forget the whole Drew and Angela thing, she was basically denying it. Oh, that's not how it was. All of that. Oh, my voice. Sorry, guys. I'm still recovering from a long, fun, exciting weekend. But anyway, my point is this. I personally believe Britt on this text message, Shamia. So sorry to break it to you. I believe Britt. I believe Britt on this one because those are very specific information. How the heck would Britt know about conversations about the so-called divorce and what Portia was told to do? That's very specific. And we see how Portia is with the girls. Portia is not out here giving any of these girls any information. Portia ain't even addressing her friendship with Shamia with the girlies, right? Not to talk of, think about it. She ain't even out here addressing that with the girlies. So what's now to say, right, that all of a sudden this is different and she'll share something so personal with the girlies? And of all the girlies, it would be Britt. We know that's not true. Portia is not one of those people that are out here volunteering her personal information. No, absolutely not. So I don't believe you, Shamia. And I feel like this is just another episode of you being exposed for being a bad friend, for being a friend that cannot keep their mouth shut about their so called friend. It's like, what kind of friendship do we have if you're out here talking to everybody who cares to listen about me? It's giving you a frenemy, it gives you're a hater looking for the right opportunity to strike. And so it's like, I like Shamia, but I hope that if you're going to come back next season, which I suspect that you will come back, especially if you're sitting right next to Andy, I will say, if you're going to come back next season, I need you to bring it. I need you to stop being out here falling for rookie mistakes, like having conversations about people behind their backs, not thinking it's going to get to them. Like, what do you think this is? It doesn't make a lick of sense. you know? So what I do want to show you guys though is what Shamia had to say about, just because I think it's absolutely related. And if I'm talking about um the fact that she was exposed for so-called text messages, then the least I could do is share what Shamia has said in return, right? So we have all of everybody's sides, and then I'll talk about my little 2 cents on what Shamia had to say. Okay, so Shamia said, I was happy to be there to support my friend Kelly on one of her toughest days, on one of the toughest days of her life. I'm so happy that her divorce is final. Now let's get down to business, right? One, I've never used Kelly's stylist. Now, I think that is very specific. I don't think she necessarily said you used Kelly's stylist for styling. She said something about getting them to shop for you or something. So she says, I've never used Kelly's stylist. I've never shown lying ass Brits any text. Portia and I going out to celebrate me having a peach was discussed at her Pampered by Portia event. Britt is grasping for straws at this point. Now, this is very, very interesting. Do you guys pick this up? One thing about Shamia is Shamia does what Kenya does, which is play on words. This is my personal opinion. I feel like they play on words and they make sure that the words are very specific to cover them. This is my perspective, right? So, for instance, Britt wasn't talking about them celebrating her having a peach. Britt was saying something, right, about Portia's divorce and what an advice I think her attorney or a therapist, right, gave her. That is very specific, guys. Do you guys realize she did not say that in this message? She said, Portia and I are not going to celebrate me having a peach was discussed. Nah, we are not talking about that. What we are talking about is this so-called conversation that Portia corrected and said that this was a conversation she had with her therapist. Okay? So that is very, very specific. So this is a conversation that must have happened in some way. Even if you didn't show the text messages, you could have brought out the text message and said, oh yeah, Portia sent me a text message about da 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 da. Maybe you didn't show her, but maybe there was a reference to the text messages, right? A lot of these people try to play on words. It's the same way she said, and you guys know I covered it, right? She had said in the past something along the lines of, oh, it's not like I always come to you guys to talk about Portia. Nobody is saying that you always do that. All we are saying is, did you, in fact, speak to Angela and Drew about Portia? Right? And that's what I feel like she's playing on words, right? Her saying, oh, I've never shown any text, da 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 da. Portia and I, da 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 da. We weren't talking about that. We're talking about the so-called messages. That is a very, very specific message. How else will Britt know that? If I ever want to give Shamia grace, I would say, okay, maybe Shamia told Kelly, Kelly told Britt. That's if I want to give her a bit of grace. But even at that, why are you still discussing Portia? At this point, like, Portia stays on your mind is what it's given. Personally, because I don't know why, if someone is such a bad friend, why would I constantly be talking about them to anyone who cares to listen? That is a problem. That is a problem. Okay? And then we'll come back to the comments in a second, but that is something that I really, really wanted to talk about. I feel like Shamia, I wish that you had stayed as a friend, because as a friend, we loved the heck out of you. But now, when we see shady behavior like this, it makes it hard for us to still vibe and love on you like we normally do. right? Don't get me wrong, I still like Shamia, but that doesn't mean that I would not be calling out the things that I think she does that I think come across as shady, in my opinion, right? My advice for her is if she comes back next season, she needs to get it all the way together. Stop talking about Portia, because now it seems like you have a hard on for her. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It's entirely team too much. Now you just need to let it go. Let it go. Relax. Get over it. Right? And if you're not over it, that's fine too. But find something else to talk about, not Portia. Because it just makes you look, it makes you look desperate for her affection, desperate for her attention. It's almost like whatever you have to do just to get some attention, even if it's positive or negative from Portia, you will do it just to get a little bit of attention, which does not look good at all. Now, finally, I'll never bring up what someone does or does not do with their body. Screaming someone had an AB was out of line and way below the belt. Agree. But also saying that they are pig popping is also something that they allegedly do with their body. That is also way below the belt. I'm just saying. Right? So I hear her trying to ride for her friend, and she should, right? Because now Kelli clearly is her lap. Okay, let me not call her a lapdog, but she moves like a lapdog for Shamia. So I'm not surprised that she's riding for her, but I'm glad that at least they're both riding for each other. So I'm glad they were able to form that friendship at least, right? But I do think you saying the AB thing is way below the belt, her also talking about her pee popping is also below the belt. So let's keep it real across the board. Let's read the comments a little bit. Why not? I'm just like, I'm here with you guys. It's you and I. Let's read the comments. So the Bravo Shade Room, shout out to you guys. First of all, because that's where I got the screenshot from. Shamia girl, we could tell you didn't use a stylist this season. Oops. Okay. Someone said she brought up messages about her attorney and Portia corrected it saying it was her therapist, not that the messages didn't exist. So how would Britt know? This is the $1,000,000 question of the century, and I'm going to like it because I genuinely, that's my question, right? How would somebody know something so specific? That's like somebody saying to me like, oh yeah, I know, like a discussion that I had with my therapist in 2020 or something. I'm like, are you okay? Why? How? That would be my concern, right? So this person says, now let's take accountability here. This is it. She's always acting like she doesn't have any fault ever. I'm starting to dislike her a little. And I agree. Because the thing is, like, it's like, why do you keep bringing up Portia and saying those little things, right? Someone said Kelli threw the first blow, insinuating B does drugs. Oops, I wasn't meant to say that. I was meant to say Britt. Just, stop policing people's response. Okay. Someone said saying she was on D was out of line as well. You'll have to hold everybody accountable. I agree. 100% agree. I think you can't go there and then think that somebody is not going to go there with you. Now let's stop sharing my screen and let's get back to the recap, okay? So this man walks up to Angela and she's like, oh, do I know you? He's like, oh, he wants to talk to her in the corner, in the side outside of the cameras. I'm like, okay, if you really wanted to talk to her outside of the cameras, you wouldn't be on the cameras trying to say you want to talk to her. You would have surely had a more private conversation prior to that. So that's a bit weird to me, personally. So I was like, okay, girl, this ain't looking good. So then afterwards, she's like, well, sorry. So he's like, oh, he wants to talk to her. And she's like, do I know you? And so he's like, no, but I know your husband. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh My gosh. That is literally what I thought as soon as that was said. I was like, her husband as what? Because to me, if somebody, a man, is coming up to me saying, I know your husband, I'm not even thinking like, yo, I'm thinking, husband in what way? Like, you're a man. Why are you coming on to me talking about, my husband? From what? Why? So I thought that was a little bit weird for me personally, right? But she handled it well. She was just like, she kind of just brushed it off and stuff. Then when it was time to sort of I think the ladies were doing a cheer or something, this man comes back in and then says, yeah, he's been to my store. Cheers if your man is cheating on you. I'm like, girl, what is your problem? If this woman does not want to speak to you, that is okay. That is her choice. She doesn't have to talk to you about her husband. Whether or not he's cheating is her business. It's like, if you want to give me information, if I'm not interested in the information, I should be able to be like, I'm not interested in the information. Get lost. And that should be the end of it. I'm allowed to not want whatever information you want to give me. And this is the thing that I feel like I need people to get. Like, when they're like, oh, I'm coming to you as a woman, like, shut up. What if I don't want you to come to me as a woman? What if I don't want you to come to me with this information? And that's what it's given. Angela clearly does not want to know. So it's like, let it be. Why did you have to? If you wanted to have a conversation with her privately, you wouldn't have used that opportunity to bring it up again. It's given. You knew exactly what you wanted to do. You wanted attention. You wanted that, and you went for it. That is absolutely what it is given. Absolutely what it's given. It's giving someone desperate for attention, someone desperate for a little few cents, here and there, camera time. That's what it's given. That man was clearly looking for camera time, in my opinion, allegedly. Because why else are you bringing that? Right? Now, let's fast forward to Angela then saying that she found out that he was paid. Now, all I wanted to know was who paid him. Who paid him? Now, if I had to guess, I would say maybe production. I would say maybe production paid him. That's if I had to guess. I may be wrong, but I would say maybe production. Phaedra, maybe? But I feel like that would be so shady for her to do. Like, girl, you haven't even recovered from the whole dungeon thing. Why would you not want to pay anybody? Why? It doesn't make any sense. So for me personally, yeah, I would have an issue with that. But I would love to figure out and find out who paid what. How much was paid? When was it paid? These are the questions I want answers to. Who paid? How much was paid? And were production involved in this? Because it's like, yeah, you can have one person be the scapegoat, but was production part of setting this whole thing up? That's the question that I want answers to. But you guys can put in the chat who you think paid the so-called person. I could see from the preview for the next episode that she did have a sit down with the said person. So I think it'll be interesting to see what she finds out. I'm quite surprised that next week is the season finale of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I would say so far it has not been a terrible season. It's actually been all right. I wouldn't say great. It hasn't been great, but I wouldn't say it hasn't been okay. I would say overall, if I had to give this season a rating so far, I would say I would give it a 6 as a whole. I think the most fun I had with Real Housewives of Atlanta would be the whole girls trip. I would say I really enjoyed the girls trip personally. And I would say like also I've actually enjoyed seeing Britt transform within this last few episodes. I know we started off not really seeing it for her, but I think I've sort of liked seeing more of her in the last few episodes. So I would say it's interesting to also see the transition from the start until the end. And now I know why they actually casted her. Because that mouth on her, I guess it's only when she decides to be activated. Because that mouth on her definitely did something when it came to Kelly. Now let's talk about the whole Kelly and Britt situation. I watched it a few times because I was just like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And scenes like that, especially when it happens so fast and like there's so much happening, I'm always like, okay, let me go watch it a few times just to make sure that I'm not letting like any biases that I may have personally affect what it is that I am seeing. Now, what I noticed is Brit came in. She said she hugged most people. I did not see her hug Kelly. What I did see was Kelly definitely had an attitude. Kelly was not looking like she wanted any parts of Brit the whole time. And then she said, "Hi, Kelly." And then Kelly began with the smoke. Kelly began with the shade, the passive aggressive thing, right? And when I say Brit ate her up, she did. Brit literally said, and this is the part that first got me. She's like, "Yeah, you're passive." And she's like, "Well, aggressive. I've never seen you be aggressive." And then Brit walks up to her as she says that. I was just like, girl, that is such an aggressive stance, right? But she did it so effortlessly. The way she looked good whilst doing it. She was all put together. The bob was bobbing. Her face was beat to perfection. And she was like, yeah, nah. And I was so here. When I say I was here for it, I was so here for it. She clocked Kelly, and then Kelly decided to take it there because at first it was still like, oh, okay, Britt is looking good. Kelly was looking good as well. I didn't like the dress, but I would say her face was looking good. Okay. Don't like the dress and the outfit, but the dress and the shoes. But the face was great, right? And then it was interesting seeing like the dynamic, the back and forth between them and everybody's like reactions and the confessionals. So I think Kelly then took it to the left by claiming or insinuating that Brit is a pill popper, right? So then Brit is like, oh yeah, all right, all bets are off. Then Brit accused her of getting an AB. Now you guys know what an AB is. I don't have to say it's an ABR. Right, I'm gonna leave it there. And I'm just like, okay. And it seems like everyone was so like taken aback by the fact that she said that, right? But I'm like, okay, I get it. Brit, it was like Kelly took it left. Brit took it all the way to hell. Brit was like, if you go low, she's going straight to hell. And that's what we got in that moment. Brit took it all the way to hell. Brit brought up the AB thing. Brit called her a hobbit. And the way she said it, oh my gosh, it was so sinister. It was like chef's kiss. Like, I really want to play that scene for you guys again, but I'm like, I don't want to get copyrighted. They be like weird about playing all these videos sometimes. So I'm just like, let me stay out of it. I don't want no smoke with Bravo. But when I say the facial expressions, remember I was saying to you guys in like a few episodes before when I was talking about Brit, and I said I don't like the way Brit was coming across super aggressive at the girls trip, right? And I felt like if she was saying the things she was saying but was a little bit more poised, it would land better. This episode, she did exactly that. She was more poised. And I feel like this time around, it landed a whole lot better than it had ever landed in the past. This is my view, right? I felt like she definitely showed why she was casted as a Real Housewives of Atlanta star. She clocked Kelly's passive aggressiveness and she called it out and she ate you know what is the saddest part of it? I think Kelly knows that she ate because Kelly was hyperventilating, had to walk out of the room. And my thing is like, girl, you had so much venom, you had so much smoke, you thought you were going to eat her up, but she ate you down and chewed you and spat out the bones. That is literally what Britt did. Britt read her for filth, right? Do I support the AB comment? No. Do I support calling someone a pig popper? No. That's why I say they were both wrong. Absolutely both wrong, like two left shoes. So wrong. But I will say, personally, I enjoyed that episode. I enjoyed that scene. I enjoyed the episode as a whole. I love that it had a balance of positive things like Phaedra and her sons. And I also liked the Shiloh and Shia episode that we got in the not episode scene that we got at the start. So I felt like this episode really had like a good balance of like good things and children and family life, and then we had that little sprinkle at the end with the whole Brit and Kelly. Do I think that Brit went low? Absolutely, she went low. Do I think Kelly went low first? Yes, she did. Because if you're accusing someone of doing drugs, then why are you surprised that they will go down even lower? Right? Like I said, it's something to do with it. It's both about using your body, isn't it? Right? If you're gonna do PP, you're using your body for that, right? Same thing as if you're going to do an AB, that's your body, right? So it's both low, both unacceptable. But I will say I enjoyed the scene. I like seeing Britt a little bit calmer in the way she gave the responses. The clapbacks were lethal. She even brought up the fact that the stylist said she looks a mess. I was like, oh my gosh. Not the stylist saying she looks a mess. So this is why that resonates with me. I say that because like, and as someone who has styled people in the past, right? The thing is you can have certain looks for people that you're like, oh, I think this will look good and you da, 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 da. They will say no. I don't want that. This is what I want. Right? And so if they say this is what they want, then you give them what they want because they're paying you and you're not the boss of them, right? You're there to help them, but ultimately they have to want to help themselves, right? So you can give them options. You can say, oh, I really think this will look better on you. But if they say this is what I want, then guess what you do? The customer is always right. So I'm not surprised that the stylists are like, she looks a mess. Because she does look a mess sometimes. Her looks don't match her body type. Her looks don't match her height. I think people need to realize that your body type, your height, all of these things need to be taken into consideration when you are styling yourself. You can see something that looks really good on someone who is very skinny. As someone who is curvy, it may not look good on you. It may make you look too wide. If you're short, it may make you look stocky and too close to the ground. So I think like people just need to be very careful about like outfits. You need to dress for your body type. Even for me, like when I go through like different, like maybe if I lose a little bit of weight and then I'm more on like my slimmer side, then I know certain things that look better on me. And then when I'm more in my thick era, then it's like, okay, there's certain things that I could wear when I was more in my slimmer era and looks good that don't look good now. And there are some benefits to being thick because sometimes you fill out those clothes so nicely and it be looking so sexy, right? But then it's a give and take, right? So it's just like you have to dress well for your body type. Just because you like it does not mean that it would look good on you. There may be a version of that that could look good on you, but it just may not work, right? There's some dresses with certain patterns that I'm like, okay, when they look too short, they may not look as good on me, right? However, when they're a bit longer, then it looks good. It's softer on the curves. All of those things need to be taken into consideration. But if you have a client that does not listen and genuinely likes the tacky stuff, then they're going to end up looking tacky regardless of what you suggest for them to get. Who do you think won the face-off between Kelly and yeah? Who do you think won the face-off between Kelly and Britt? Let me know in the chat. I will wait and I'm going to be reading you guys' responses. So let me know who you think won in the chat.
Anyways, hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. What are you doing? Hit it, smash it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And also share with your friend, your sister, everybody, your ex, you know, everybody, honey. Anyways, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.